How to Train Your Dragon is one of DreamWorks' most praised franchises, spanning from movies to short movies to TV shows to books and so on. And now the third and final installment in the movie trilogy has arrived. But before we get into the review, I would like to go through some of the previous installments in this franchise, just to give you guys some perspective. As always, spoilers ahead. How to Train Your Dragon was released back in 2010. At the time, I remember seeing ads fucking everywhere for it. You couldn't turn your head without seeing something dragon related. So after dodging this movie for so long, I just had to see what all the buzz was about, and it was indeed warranted. Its animation was beautiful, its characters were solid, and you could truly feel the bond between a boy and his pet dragon. It's hard to actually create a memorable partnership like that. We have Han Solo and Chewbacca, Kirk and Spock, Batman and Robin, Hiccup and Toothless. All feel like two perfectly matched cogs working together. And for a movie in 2010, an animated movie I might add, to actually create something like that, a truly rememberable partnership, I was pretty much awestruck. The sequel, How to Train Your Dragon 2, veers off a little bit in my opinion. There were moments in there, such as when Hiccup and Toothless have their first flight scene. It shows how the relationship has grown over the 5 years since the first movie took place. The TV show takes place between the first and second movie, so it's optional if you want to watch the TV show. But in the beginning of the second movie, the relationship is still shown to have grown, and I appreciate that a lot. Another beautiful moment is when Stoic reunites with Valka after like 20 years, and then his subsequent death scene. Those are probably the third best moments in the film, but some weak points are definitely the villain, Drago. The first movie doesn't get a real bad guy until the final act, when Stoic realizes that Hiccup has lied about his dragon skills and that he's in fact been training a dragon in secret. Stoic races off to find the Dragon Island and finish them off once and for all. And Stoic, as a villain in the first movie, makes sense, since he wants his son to, succeed, as most fathers do. And yeah, his villainous ways stems from a logical motive. But back to Drago. He has about as much personality as a plank of wood, and his motives are basically, hey, the dragons are really dangerous and can't be trained through friendship, so I'm gonna raise a dragon army and trade them through fear instead. This is supposed to play into Hiccup's motives to show Drago that he is wrong, that dragons can truly be our friends, not just our subjects. This doesn't really lead anywhere. I think Stoic's death scene is the real driving point in there, and they don't really let that cook. I mean, Stoic dies, and then forcing Hiccup to take over as Chief of Berk. But this all happens in the span of like 10 to 15 minutes, and that's because the movie is just about 1 hour and 40 minutes. Had the movie been 2 hours, I think they could have let it linger a little bit. The same problem goes for the third movie, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now, the third installment, The Hidden World. I feel like this is the better sequel. They were never going to top the first movie, so it's a battle between the second and third. And I feel like the third actually has more to offer. Hiccup's various relationships goes further lengths in this one than in the second one. It has a big closing of the book sort of feel to it, and gave most of the characters justice. I would like to compare this to the 19 years later scene from Harry Potter, and yes, I know that scene got a lot of hate during its release due to them being 20-year-olds made to look like they were in the early 40s, but bear with me here. The ending to this movie is pretty similar. They are constantly walking a fine line between the happily ever after with the dragons ending and the dragons were never seen again ending. Hiccup and the others have to say goodbye to their dragons, and after a 10-year time jump, Hiccup is now sporting that sweet Chad beard and is on a boat at sea with his family. Astrid, now his wife, and their 2 children. They encounter Toothless and the Light Fury and their baby dragons. Toothless jumps aboard their boat, not recognizing Hiccup at first, but as Hiccup reaches for Toothless and says, "Hey bud," Toothless' face turns very sweet, and he becomes very ecstatic to see his best friend again after 10 years. Hiccup lets his children touch Toothless the same way he did in the first movie, and Toothless gives them all a ride. The end. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. The villain, although better than Drago, is still very boring and could have been skipped. But I guess the heroes need some sort of a threat, so they threw this guy in here. But basically, he comes in and he's like a dragon bounty hunter. And he comes in and he's like, "Yeah, I have hunted every Night Fury except yours, boy," and blah blah blah. So, he's super bland, and I already forgot his name, so yeah. I guess what the third movie does, it makes the second movie seem almost obsolete. If you were to change a few things, the third movie could definitely work as a second movie, you know? But that's just me rambling. What else? Oh yes, the animation is better than ever, and with a soundtrack to match. The flying scenes, always the highlight of these movies, were spectacular. Toothless romance with the Light Fury was pretty cool, I guess. It's all done with no dialogue, so that's pretty impressive. But I didn't really care for the Light Fury all that much. We know Toothless, and we have since we've seen him grow for 2 movies and the show running for 8 fucking seasons. The Light Fury doesn't have that much going for her, I think. Yeah, Snotlout had a subplot about having a low-key MILF crush on Valka. That was really weird and didn't really go anywhere, and the comedic payoff was weak. For fuck's sake, Rough Nut and Tough Nut had more screen time than Snotlout, and they are retards. Whatever. Those were all my notes, and I hope you enjoyed this review, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Vortex out.